This coin is the same coin. Look closely. It begins its life almost pure silver, the most trusted money in the ancient world. And it ends, 3 centuries later, as a sliver of silver painted over cheap bronze. Nobody announced the change. No law declared it. It happened one shaving at a time, under one emperor after another, each telling himself it was temporary. This is the story of the first great inflation in recorded history, how the mightiest economy the world had ever seen taught humanity a lesson we have relearned in every century since. The metal stayed honest, the money became a lie. Last time, we watched a small kingdom called Lydia invent the coin, and the idea travel every road it could reach. It reached Rome, and Rome did with it what Rome did with everything, scaled it to a size the world had never seen. The Roman silver coin was called the denarius. For centuries it was the dollar of its world. A soldier on the frontier, a merchant in Egypt, a farmer in Gaul, all pricing their lives in the same trusted piece of silver, roughly 4 grams, stamped with the face of the state that guaranteed it. And here is the crucial part, the part that makes the whole tragedy possible. A coin's value was supposed to be its silver. The stamp was just a promise that this disc contained the weight of precious metal it claimed. As long as that promise held, the denarius was as good as gold. Rome grew rich, paid its legions, built its roads and aqueducts, and moved goods across 3 continents on the back of a coin everyone believed in. Belief, it turns out, is the most valuable thing any money owns. It is also the easiest thing to spend. Every government eventually discovers the same trick, and Rome discovered it early. Imagine you are the emperor. You owe your soldiers 1,000,000 denarii, and you do not have 1,000,000 denarii of silver. But you do control the mint. So you call in the old coins, melt them down, and remint them with a little less silver in each. A 98% coin becomes a 95% coin. It still says denarius, it still spends. And the silver you skimmed from every coin, that is now yours, conjured from nothing but the public's trust that a denarius is a denarius. This is debasement, and it is the original counterfeit, except the counterfeiter is the state itself, the one institution nobody thinks to check. In the short term, it is magic. The bills get paid, the legions get their coins, the emperor looks solvent. Nothing appears to have changed. The coin in your hand looks the same as the coin in your father's hand. But a promise has quietly been broken, and broken promises about money do not stay quiet forever. They compound, silently at first, then all at once. The man who lit the fuse was Nero, in the year 64, the same year much of Rome burned. Rebuilding a capital is expensive, and Nero, never one for restraint, reached for the mint. He did 2 things at once. He made the denarius slightly lighter, and he lowered its silver content from around 98% to roughly 90%. Small numbers, almost invisible, and that is exactly why it worked, and exactly why it was so dangerous. Nero had proven the trick could be done without riots in the street. Every emperor who followed inherited that knowledge. Because here is the thing about a door that has been opened once, it is very hard to close. Nero shaved a little. His successors, facing their own wars and their own debts, shaved a little more. And why not? It had worked before. The Republic had taken 2 centuries to build the denarius's reputation. The emperors would spend it down in less than 3. Marcus Aurelius, the philosopher king, ran it to about 75% silver fighting his frontier wars. Septimius Severus took it to 50. Each of them, no doubt, told himself he was the responsible one. Then came the 3rd century, and the shaving became a landslide. Rome fell into 50 years of chaos, plague, invasion, civil war, more than 20 emperors in 50 years, most of them murdered. Each one needed to pay the army that made him emperor, and each one had exactly one tool. By the 260s, the proud silver denarius contained around 5% silver. Soon it was less than 2. A coin of bronze, dipped in a thin silver wash that wore off in your pocket, revealing the cheap metal underneath. The most trusted money in the world had become a painted lie, and everyone could see it. And when everyone can see it, the magic reverses. For a while, debasement is invisible and free. Then a threshold is crossed, and the public stops believing. Prices did not rise gently, they detonated. By some estimates, the cost of basic goods rose 15, 20 times over in a generation. Why? Because a coin is only worth what people believe it holds, and people no longer believed. Merchants demanded more and more of the worthless coins for the same bag of grain. The soldiers, paid in this trash, found their wages buying less each month, and a poorly paid army is how emperors die. The debasement built to pay the legions was now destroying the very thing it paid for. Enter Diocletian, a hard soldier emperor who dragged Rome back from the brink, and who then made one of history's most instructive mistakes. He looked at the runaway prices and concluded, reasonably enough, that the problem was greed. Merchants were charging too much. So in the year 301, he issued the Edict on Maximum Prices, a law fixing the maximum legal price of over 1,000 goods and services, from wheat to a lion for the arena, with a single penalty for charging more: death. It failed almost instantly, and it failed in the way price controls always fail. If it costs a baker more to make bread than the law lets him sell it for, the baker does not sell at a loss, he stops making bread. Goods did not get cheaper, they vanished from the legal markets and reappeared at true prices in the black market. Diocletian had tried to outlaw the symptom, while the disease, the debased coin itself, ran untouched. You cannot fix a broken promise about money by threatening the people who noticed it was broken. The edict was quietly abandoned. The prices were right. The coin was wrong. Something else happened, something so consistent across history it eventually got a name. When people held two coins, an old one heavy with real silver and a new one that was mostly bronze, which did they spend? The bad one, of course, and which did they keep, or melt, or bury in the garden? The good one. 16 centuries later, an English financier named Gresham would state it as a law: bad money drives out good. Rome lived it first. The good coins disappeared into the ground, and the bronze washed through the markets, and the whole system slid toward the thing. Coinage was invented to escape. People simply stopped trusting coins and went back to trading goods for goods. By the end, the Roman state itself stopped believing in its own money. It began collecting taxes not in coin, but in kind, in wheat, in oil, in bodies for the army. Because a sack of grain was worth something, and a sack of denarii was worth almost nothing. Think about what that means. The empire that had priced the entire Mediterranean in a single trusted coin now could not reliably tax in that coin, because it had destroyed the trust with its own hand. Rome did not fall because of the denarius alone, but the ruin of the money and the ruin of the empire kept close company, and it is hard to say which was cause and which was symptom. So the lesson Rome paid for, in the hardest currency there is, was this: whoever holds the stamp can always cheat. And the cheating always feels temporary, and it never is. The metal in a coin is a fact. The value of the money is a story, told by the state, believed by the people, and the moment the state loves its debts more than the truth, the story begins to rot. Every currency since has stood in the shadow of that Roman coin, including the paper in your wallet and the numbers on your screen. But if you have been paying attention, a strange question is forming. Rome cheated by putting less silver in the coin. What if you could take the idea further, all the way? What if money didn't need to be silver or gold or metal at all? What if it could be a promise printed on nothing more than paper, a promise so bold it should never have worked, and yet built the modern world? Long before Europe dared to try it, a civilization on the other side of the earth already had. That story, the paper promise, is next time on Empires and Interest.